Hello, how exciting is this? New strings. So I've gone for Larson Magnacore Arioso, which is the first set of strings I've ever bought a cello. So I have owned this cello for, I can't remember exactly, maybe 5 years? 4 or 5 anyway. And I have never changed the strings. So apart from going to hell, I would say new strings are expensive. I've not really noticed the urge to buy a new set of strings. And even now, the only reason I did so is because somebody on the apprentice cello group made a really good point. Apologies, I can't remember who. That if you buy some new strings, put them on the cello and they don't make a huge bit of difference, you probably didn't need them, so you can put them back in the packet and wait until you do. So I figure blowing a bunch of cash on the strings now won't go to waste, even if they're not necessary or don't have a huge difference, because I will need them at some point. Obviously they tarnish a bit over time, but I can live with that. So yeah, I mean, like, it's just at over £200 for a set of strings, certainly a set of good strings. It just doesn't really bear experimentation very much, so I just never bothered. Looking at these strings, I was kind of surprised when I finally bothered to have a look that it looks like I'll be pretty much replacing like with like. These are at least look like Larson's. They've got the telltale gold and black livery, the wrap around the beside the ball, and they've got a red wrap. I don't know if you can see that with the light, but red wrap in the peg box. I'll have a look after and see if I can work out whether they were standard Larsons, Magnacores, or soloists. They won't be Ariosos because they're quite relatively, I think they've been developed after the cello was bought. I went for the Arioso because they have they're aiming to get a slightly darker tone, which that's great. I love dark tones, why not? More seriously, it does seem like there's no right answer when it comes to which string suits which cello, in that the string might well make a choice, but I couldn't really see any way of determining up front which string was going to work well with the cello. I think you just pick one and go with it. I think if you've got a luthier that allows you to try a few, then that's obviously much better. But given that I'm in the middle of Ireland, had to buy the mail order, you know, I could worry about it for years, or I could just buy a set. So I did that. So they're there, ready to get changed. I thought it'd be worth mentioning a couple of things about the strings on there that I'm hoping might be improved. But I'm a cynic when it comes to equipment. I think an extra few hours practice probably make more difference, I think, than a new set of strings. But I'd love to be proved wrong, because nothing I'd like better than to be able to buy my way into some more ability. What else should I say? Don't know if I mentioned, but they don't look to me like they're desperately needed being changed. The old strings, there's no obvious sign of them unwrapping. I was very surprised to find out that they were Larsons on there, just because the cello's not that expensive. It was, from memory, maybe £800 or something from Stringers in Edinburgh. It's a nice cello. It's got nice projection. I don't have any complaints. I'd sure like a shiny new one, but again, it's not the limiting factor, right? That's the thing that sits behind it in the chair. So it's kind of good enough for my abilities at the moment, although I am thinking about trading up at some point. That's it. Let's play some cello. Right, few open strings perhaps. My A string, although when you pluck it, it's nothing obvious. An open string, just that's just not a tone to inspire love. It's fine, and it's okay when you're playing it if you're kind of fretted. So it's fairly responsive. If you happen to have a passage with open A's, it's a bit of a crapshoot whether you end up with a honking goose howl of a note, trademark, that comes out in the middle of the phrase, but otherwise it's okay. But it really, it can. Can't really hear it there, but yeah, it can really stand out when you're playing an open A. It can be just a bit bright and nasty, really. The D. Quite like. Just trying to play a few different notes in different areas, different bow pressures and speeds and things like that, so that we can compare overall sound. The D, I don't have a complaint with. The only problem with the D is that I do have, there's a wolf note on here. So I don't know if you can hear that. That just sounds a bit thin to me, but on this string. To make a very horrible noise, especially if I move my dampener out of the way. Somewhat cooperating today, but yeah, that can be pretty nasty. Otherwise, like the D, likewise with the G. Nice combination of fairly responsive, and the tone is perfectly good. The C. It makes me want to rattle into a Bach Fifth Suite opening or something. Yeah, I like the tone of the G. C. It's a little, I would say it's a little muddy, and because I got the softer strings, I suspect I didn't do, I haven't got a set of strings that's really going to contrast that. It can be a little bit slow to get started, particularly if you're not bowing near the, if you're bowing near the fingerboard, it's a bit freer on the C string. Otherwise, a little hiccup at the beginning of the bow. Oh, it's sounding great today, of course. Good, okay. Why don't I munch through a couple of pieces that might just give us something to compare. So why don't I'll play a little bit of the Haydn first concerto, just because it requires a little bit of movement, and there's some relatively fast passages, which mean the strings need to be able to respond quickly. Okay, then if I do maybe something with a bit of pits in it, just to give it, so you can hear what it's like, how the strings respond to plucking. That'll do that, and maybe, what else could I play? Maybe play some Bach just for, what would be good? I might just play a few bars of a few different things, and then we've got a range. Etc. That'll do. Something with a few open strings. Oh, let's got some double stops in too. Yada yada yada. Fine. Maybe a saraband for some longer notes. Yep. What else would be good? Oh, I played the beginning of the third suite, which has, yeah, this got a bit more emphasis on some of the lower strings. Maybe some of the that'll do. Yeah, that'll probably do. That'll probably give enough of a comparison when I go change the strings, which I shall do right now. Cut.